The Four Nations tournament starts soon. It is just around the corner. What's it going to be like? How will it affect things at the trade deadline? And a whole lot more. All that coming up on today's NHL Squad Show.
You are talking puck with the NHL Squad Show, sponsored by Game Time. From the Oilers to the Stars, Golden Knights, and the Panthers, the Rangers, Avalanche, and yes, even the Maple Leafs. The Locked On Podcast Network brings together all its local experts to provide the scoops, breakdowns, and comprehensive looks at all the NHL, with plenty of trash talk to go with it. Don't miss the hard hits and glove-dropping hot takes on the Locked On NHL Squad Show. It's time to drop the puck.
Gil Martin from Locked On Islanders, and welcome everybody to the NHL Squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another wild week across the NHL. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We have got an esteemed panel today on this week's Squad Show. We have Seth Toupal of Locked On Wild, Zach Martin of Locked On Hurricanes, Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames, and Tom Callahan of Locked On Utah Hockey Club. Ladies and gentlemen, the big story coming up this week, well, we've got the Four Nations tournament, a different twist on the All-Star game. Let's even start with this. Do you guys think that Four Nations is a good alternative to the All-Star game? Jess, let's start with you.
I can't say just yet. I think that there's obviously a need for revamping the NHL All-Star game and such, but I don't know. I'm not really entirely sold on this whole thing just yet.
Why not?
I find it incredibly inaccessible to fans. Ticket pricing. I've been looking to go to Montreal or to Boston, and they're $600 to sit in the last row of the balcony. What are we doing?
Sounds
Tom,
like you
what
go
about
to
you?
Game Time. Sounds like you need to go to Game Time.
I don't even know if they're going to help. They helped me out with seats at Fenway, but I don't know if they're going to pull that magic off in Boston. You know what? So conceptually, I like it. Four nations. Hopefully, they eventually expand into more nations. And I love the World Cup of hockey. That's why I think this is great. I always enjoyed the World Cup of hockey, but obviously, the All-Star game has been tweaked over the last couple of years, try to make it more exciting. I think 3-on-3 is better than what we had because at least players kind of get into it. But at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to find, right, is something – this is for the fans. And at the end of the day, if the fans aren't able to go see it live because it's pricing them out of house and home, that's not a good thing in the first place. The second thing is, unfortunately, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, injuries play a big part in this. Now you have a week and a half break here that's turning into an unofficial trade deadline. It is really messing with the schedule of the NHL without benefiting the NHL, I don't think. Is this going to draw any more viewers than an All-Star game is the question you have to ask. Is it more revenue? Is it better for the fans? I don't know that it is.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is, for me, the All-Star break was always an opportunity for the guys that weren't All-Stars to get a reprieve in, get a little break in. And now you have an extended period of time where you have a bunch of really top-tier players that are going to be competing in this tournament for a couple of weeks. And this is not unique to the Minnesota Wild, but I'll use it as a good example because there are a couple of key pieces currently dealing with this. Jonas Brodin is just coming back from an injury, and he is on the roster for Finland. You've got Joel Eriksson Ek, who has been hurt pretty much all the season. Would love the opportunity for him to get a little 2-week break to try to get ready for the NHL season, but he is obviously going to play in this as well. So you worry about the risk of injuries, which is that's not it's not to say that you didn't during the All-Star break, but this is obviously going to be ramped up competition. The All-Star game is always kind of it's a glorified exhibition game, and the players have by and large treated it as such. There is a lot at stake here, and players are going to, I think, treat these games as if they matter, which means there's going to be intensity, which means there's going to be physicality, which just opens you up for, which is why we have seen this quote unquote first trade deadline. Teams are worried about that. Teams are worried about that heading into this tournament, that there could be some key pieces that end up getting hurt during this thing.
You know what, Seth? That's exactly why we heard about the pushback against the Olympics, right? Because it is serious. Players, especially in Europe, I think North American fans don't always understand, but how serious Europeans take international competition. It matters. And so all we need is to come out of this with one significant injury, and the second guessing and the wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth will start. And I hope we don't. I really hope we don't. But you're absolutely right. The possibility exists, and it could really screw up someone's season.
Yeah, because what is to say, let's just use this as an example, Connor Hellebuck, who is, I would imagine, going to be the number one guy for Team USA. What would happen if something happens to him and a guy that the Winnipeg Jets have leaned on all season all of a sudden is not available, and they don't have anybody that can step in and fill that spot?
Yeah, it's a real problem. It's a real problem. And then, like, I'll talk about this from an Islanders perspective. Brock Nelson, supposed to be on the trade block at the deadline. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's playing for Team USA. If I'm the general manager of the New York Islanders, I don't want him playing, or I'm going to trade him before the tournament, because, I mean, I don't know. Do you really think it's going to be as physical as a regular season NHL game?
Not in the first round. It'll get there. So. It'll get there.
I mean, all you need is one rut in the ice and somebody skates over it and bingo, that's an injury. But like these games could really decide the NHL season as a result of injuries, even though they don't count in the standings.
Oh, no, 100%. And look at it from the teams who have already traded. Like, let's just say, for instance, the Carolina Hurricanes. You just got Mikko Rantanen. What if, knock on wood, nothing happens? But now you just traded for a guy. What if he's out for a bit? You can't go get Marty Nietzsche's back. That trade's done. Now it's like now you have the mad scramble. So yeah, I can definitely see where this could be. There's a lot of hesitation with this, and where it's like, okay, what's going to happen with that? But going back to what Tom said, I love the World Cup of hockey too. I wish we had more teams. Maybe this is a segue that could lead into that. I know, obviously, with a lot of the European guys, we don't have enough guys to fill rosters out for like a Team Germany, Czech Republic, stuff like that. So you might have to do some Team Europes, Team North Americas for the other guys and stuff like that too. But and also what Jess said with the accessibility, like there's no reason why we should be outpricing tickets for nosebleeds at TD Garden and for Montreal too. There's no reason for that to happen. There definitely should be caps or ways this should be done a lot better. Like for what they do for the Stadium Series, Winter Classics and stuff like that. It's just the whole situation of the tickets are insane. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting with how these guys are going to look at it, because, what Seth said and what, talking like, okay, it's glorified exhibition, glorified pawn hockey. Yeah, and that's why people are kind of tuned out with the All-Star game, because you could tell these guys aren't really trying. Like, they don't, like, you see the skills comp. No one cares about the skills competition. Like, you want to look at a skills comp and then All-Star game that makes it exciting. Look what the AHL is doing right now with the All-Star Classic. It's exciting. There's no gimmicks. It's just old school skills. Fans are able to interact with guys because they took the glass down. They still make it interesting. I feel like the NHL has been just trying to tweak things that maybe aren't just working. They're trying to overdo it. And yeah, I think just that whole weekend, it's just tough to do. And now, like you said, now you get 2 weeks of more intense hockey when you're used to 3 days of stuff and then you're off for a week.
Yeah,
you're gonna have a lot of guys who are gonna be super tired coming back into the AHL. With how many days are they gonna get off before and after Four Nations before you go into a stretch run of more games? Exactly, none.
Big ol' zero.
Now you're gonna have guys who are gonna be super tired for this massive stretch run where you're gonna have just games almost every other night now.
And here's the thing I want to throw out to you guys, and I'd love to hear your responses. Does anyone expect anything but a USA-Canada final? I mean, we've kind of already
No.
shoveled it into that corner, haven't we?
I
Takes some of the drama out.
don't know. I mean, looking at Switzerland, Finland, or Switzerland, Sweden. Sorry, brain's been kind of off. Sweden and Finland. I mean, you still look at those two teams that could still possibly do something. I'm not going to, say it's automatically USA, Canada. Stuff can happen, but yeah, I mean, it's hockey. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised though if it is. Just
I mean,
we look at those rosters, it's crazy.
It's basically going to be Canada's offense versus Connor Hellebuyck. Like, I know Team USA has – I'm not trying to suggest that Team USA does not have capable players on it, but you're talking about a lineup with Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Sidney Crosby, let alone Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, Mark Stone. Need I go on? Like, it's Canada's offense and seeing if they can crack Connor Hellebuyck multiple times to win.
Here's a question that I'm wondering, though. The NHL has difficulty getting fans to care about an all-star game that is one game and maybe there's 1 or 2 days of skills competitions and little events. How are they going to hold up fan interest for an entire tournament?
That's a good question. I think one of the biggest mistakes was making the gold medal game on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
I don't understand that in the slightest, but again, it's the NHL. I don't think they actually look at calendars when scheduling things. I have a very difficult time thinking and believing that they'll be able to really hone in on the content or keeping people engaged. I mean, it's not like I could see maybe if teams are sending their content people or whoever, like they do for the All-Star game, but what are we doing in this situation when it's not team specific?
Utah. So for instance, Utah is sending 2 Finnish defensemen over. Don't get me started on Clayton Keller, not on Team USA, but they're sending 2 Finnish defensemen. Well, in a market like Utah, how many people actually give a flip about Finland? Probably not too many, but they do now. Right. So if you're a Utah fan, you're like, well, this blue's not too far from Finnish blue. I guess I can trade up for a little bit. They'll try to follow it. But I feel like if there's not the featuring of what your team is doing, what Carolina or Minnesota or Calgary or New York is doing, a lot of people are just going to tune out. The places that are going to watch this tournament are Boston, Buffalo, and Detroit.
Yeah,
I watch the Stanley Cup final, no matter who's in it, they'll watch this tournament.
It ultimately just comes down to accessibility, and like what Jess was saying about the ticket prices, that's patently absurd. Like you're
so ridiculous.
You're gonna ask fans to care about a tournament that they can't get to in person. A great opportunity. The NHL will never do this, but a great opportunity would be for each team that has players on it to host watch parties at their arena. They won't do this, but you don't have to sell it out. You don't have to have your full arena assortment of concessions and what have you available. Just pack the lower bowl, have the game going on the video board, make it, hey, we're going to root for our guys. I should correct myself as well. The Wild, 2 representatives from Team Sweden, not Team Finland. So I wanted to get that in before the comments correct me myself. But like, you have to come up with these ways to make the fans want to care about this, and putting it on NHL Network Plus or ESPN Plus or having the tickets be $7,000 a piece is not the way to do it.
No. Yeah, I mean, at least they were smart in not doing on the NHL Network for the World Juniors, which they do every year, which makes no sense because you want to get fans into it. But it's like, okay, have fun getting fans to watch World Juniors, which is very exciting. But you can't watch it unless you pay for it or, raise a Jolly Roger for it. And we're going to leave it at that. But, but at least for this, it kind of made it somewhat work. I mean, you're seeing, guys interested in it. But, I mean, if you have, let's say, 2 or 3 guys going, like how, like what Tom said, who's really going to care about guys on teams that maybe you never really cared about in big nation games or stuff like that? I mean, lucky for the Canes, we got now 4 instead of 3 going because we picked up a really good Finnish forward. I don't know if you've heard about him, but it's just Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. This is definitely a wait and see thing for sure of like how it's actually gonna kind of pan itself out before we're like, let's do it again because it's the NHL.
Yeah, we'll see how this all plays out. We have a little more to talk about with regard to Four Nations. We've got that and a lot more coming up on the NHL Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you could adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from the opening kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. So I wanted to ask about sort of the elephant in the room, and that is there is no Team Russia. Lot of, one of you said, I forget who, there may not be enough players from some of these countries to fill out a team. Okay, Zach, yeah. Russia could fill out two very easily.
Yeah.
But there is no Team Russia. Your thoughts on that? Should there be a Team Russia? Or is it wrong to let politics kind of influence how this all plays out?
I think it's too hard to say. I don't know. I feel like it's way too political.
It is. I mean, but like Alex Ovechkin, not going to be there.
Yeah.
Right. The main draw, like
Kirill Kaprizov, not going to be there.
Right.
Well, for multiple reasons there, Seth. Sorry about your
touche. Again,
sorry,
before the audience corrects me, he's not going to be there because of the surgery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the Hurricanes. Andrei Svechnikov, Pyotr Kochekov, Dmitry Orlov. We got all the Ovs. I mean, it's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, like we said, you could easily field more teams. Like you could get Team Russia there, but like you said, unfortunately, politics in the IHF, which is a whole different conversation to talk about with what they do, and it's just like you said, their Team Russia they could easily field enough guys because there's a lot of guys in the NHL that could easily play. And like I said, we could even do like a Team Europe if you really wanted to, with all the guys that there's not enough NHLers for. Like, okay, let's put Leon Draisaitl with like Nino Niederreiter from Switzerland, or you have all these other guys from these countries that it's just one or two guys here and there, but you put them on a whole
Norway,
squad.
Austria, on and
exactly.
on.
Exactly.
Czechia. There are countries that you can combine to get a team.
Right, exactly. Like I said, and the fact that you could also, like I said, if you there's enough guys from North America that don't make Canada and the USA, like Clayton Keller. Hey, here's Team North America because we can just add a whole another group for them too. So yeah, there's so many ways of avenues where you could have added a lot more teams to make this interesting. If you wanted to go to 6 and not involve Russia, which I mean you could, but Europe and North America, there you go. It's problem solved. But yeah, I mean it's just the way they've only made it only 4 teams, and the way they've kind of just like, oh well, sorry, if you want to see all these other great players, too bad, so sad. You're going to have to deal with it until we figure it out next year, which who knows at that point, because then they're talking about all-star breaks again next year.
Right, but the problem is if you have more than 4 teams, you need more than 10 days to have this tournament, and then you have to have it after the season instead of in the middle.
I mean, yeah, at this point, it's like, do you even really – I mean, does anyone even want an all-star game anymore? Is it more of just like, here's a break for like a week and there you go? Because, I mean – like the only one that even like I said, the one that even has implications is baseball, because whoever wins gets home field advantage for the World Series. Maybe if the NHL wants to make it exciting, hey, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. If you guys want to get a home ice advantage for the Stanley Cup, regardless of your record, boom, there it is. Like, I'm tired of this. Let's do all the divisions together and have 4 teams. Like, what happened to East West? What happened to, USA against the world or North America against the world? Or, hey, 1 through 8. Who misses that for the playoffs? Like, there's just unnecessary tweaks that just didn't need to happen. But
give every team a week off for the All-Star break. Announce your first half All-Stars, and then at the end of the season, announce your second half All-Stars. Celebrate the players being able to, have that on their resume, and let them go to Cabo. Let them it's a strenuous NHL season. Give them an opportunity to just go be with their families for a week and refuel and rest up a little bit and to gear up for the second half of the season.
Yeah, if the NHL doesn't care about it, why should the guys care about it? Because they don't market the All-Star game for nothing at this point.
It's almost like the NHL at this point is like, hey, don't forget about the All-Star game. We're gonna have so much fun, and everybody's like, oh.
Well, hey, here's the Stadium Series. Wait, there was a Stadium Series? Wait, the Winter Classic was on New Year's Eve? I did.
Don't get me started on that one.
Yeah, that was just and look, the All-Star game, you know who it's really for? All of the rest of it aside, the corporate sponsors of the National Hockey League, because all of their executives and all of their families, that's who ends up getting the tickets.
Yep.
And that's their thank you for sponsoring the league.
Like, hey, Nathan McKinnon, my kids really want to meet you, and I'm a major sponsor for the Colorado Avalanche. Okay, sure. Autograph, photo,
picture,
done deal.
Selfie, yep. Absolutely. Well, we have got a lot more to discuss on today's show, including maybe a topic that is near and dear to Tom's heart. 3 choices now for the Utah Hockey Club's nickname going forward. We'll talk a little bit about that and a whole lot more coming up on today's Squad Show. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Looking for tickets for your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it's never been easier. Let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So a little mix up there with some copyright infringement and questions about Yeti, but we do now have 3 finalists for the Utah Hockey Club's name. Tom, why don't you tell us what the choices are and your initial thoughts, since that is the team you cover.
So it's fun that they did this twice in 2 days because they pulled one out of nowhere and all of a sudden Wasatch was in the mix, which no one really asked for or had even heard. I almost feel like they threw it in there just so the running would be between Utah Hockey Club and Mammoth, which are the 2 that were also in there. Well, Wasatch got the axe so fast, and so they brought back Outlaws, which was initially supposed to be one of the 3 finalists. A bunch of the other ones kind of look. Yeti. Here's the thing: it's all those names are still possible. They're just real expensive now because you have to bargain with Yeti to get that copyright, and they couldn't prove enough with the Copyright and Trademark Office that they could differentiate themselves. They tried to add an S onto it. It didn't work. So at this point, even Utah Hockey Club has a little bit more hurdles than Mammoth or Outlaws, just because Utah, hockey, and club are all very generic words. However, there's a special use case, and I'm pretty sure Utah Hockey Club fills this, where if you show you've been using it, and they obviously have, you could basically lobby that you could then make that your trademark name. So Hockey Club is on there. Mammoth is on there, which was my second favorite from the start. I was a big Yeti supporter, and now I'm on with Mammoth. And the third one is now Outlaws once again. So what they're doing right now, I think now we're down to 2 home games remaining for this. Fans can go in and get a sneak peek at not only what the name and the colors would look like, but the preliminary logo design, which is pretty cool. Now, here's the thing. They take your phone. So you have to go in there. One person is escorted by 2 PR people. No photographs, no nothing. So I don't know if anybody still has those goofy glasses with the camera. Maybe you could try to sneak in there. But yeah, so they don't want to leak it, but people can talk about it, and they're creating a buzz by doing this. So you can actually see it, but you can't photograph it or otherwise disseminate what's there. I have heard, though, that on some of the fan sites, there's an Outlaw logo that was done by a graphic artist who apparently saw it, that it looks very close to what the Outlaws would look like. And so I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We'll see. The fan vote, I'm sure it's already done, but it's up to a fan vote.
Yeah, because I saw like someone was posting like the initial jerseys and logos of what it looked like, and they look very ESHL type level stuff, which I'm assuming is probably not going to be the case, thankfully, because that's a bad look if it's going to look that corny like what the NHL games are like. But I mean, if you look at names, I mean, like I said, Outlaws is all right. I like the Mammoth too, and that's coming from a guy who likes the Colorado Mammoth of the National Lacrosse League. So Mammoth is a great name as long as you do the logo correctly and stuff like that. And it's different. Like Outlaws, I mean, everyone's got Outlaws. Like that's not a surprise. Mammoth, I don't know. I'm with you, Tom. I think that's probably one of like the most unique names, and you can do a lot of runway even with like mascots, T-shirt designs, jersey designs, like helmet designs. Put some little mammoth horns on the helmets. You can do a lot of runway with that type of name.
Now, one thing I want to mention: allegedly, if they go with Hockey Club, guess what the anthropomorphized logo would be? It would be a Yeti. So,
Yeti, of course,
because if they're Utah Hockey Club, you're anything. You're anything, right? So you can still be a Yeti.
You know, put a mountain on there. Why not?
Sure.
Just go with the Mammoth, but you better make sure that the mascot's name is Wooly. Spain, yes. Just throwing it out there.
You could have 2 mascots, Wooly and Bully.
There we go. I like that.
We'll just name him Wooly Bully. There's copyright issues with that too.
That's why you have to have 2.
That's right. That's right. All right. One last quick question before we wrap this all up. Is there one player who you think might be a surprise player who is traded at or before the deadline?
Brock Besser. I think because we have seen the Vancouver Canucks go down the JT Miller road, I can't speak for what Brock Besser wants, but if I were a player and I saw some uncharted waters coming up as I was an impending free agent, the other side of that pond might start to look a little appealing, and it would behoove them to go a similar route that the Avalanche did with Mikko Rantanen and try to get something for him before he walks for nothing. So I'm not doing this to try to suggest that the Minnesota Wild will get involved because they have no money at all whatsoever. But I'll throw Brock Besser's name in the ring as somebody that it would not shock me at all if he ends up being on the move as well.
I got a good one for you, Gil. I think this might be very interesting. Morgan Geekie. I think he'd be a sneaky get. And one team in particular I think would be very interested in the guy because they drafted him. I would love to see Morgan Geekie back with the Carolina Hurricanes. Young, going into his potential on a career season, and a restricted free agent. So they have his rights and makes $2 million. Easily could fit that cap in. And he's already been with the system before. So a little sneaky pick. Why not bring the Geek Squad back down to Carolina? Because you can't out pizza the Hut. If you know, you know.
But you could bully the bully, right?
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
too in today's NHL we've learned untradeable contracts are now tradable. So that's why I'm going to
100%.
throw out Seth Jones. I think Seth Jones, somebody finds a bumper in the middle, a little money gets exchanged in there. He's terrible with the Blackhawks, but he's better than that. And I believe he is still better than that. He's just entering his early 30s. I think he's got a lot of tread on the tires. I would not be surprised to see someone take a swing at him.
I don't necessarily have a player, but I do know that Craig Conroy would love to be involved in as a third party somehow, taking some money.
Maybe some draft picks. Maybe some draft picks in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Give me all your draft capital.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's
Who
going to
needs
be
draft
interesting.
picks?
It's going to be interesting to see if anything happens during the Four Nations tournament. And obviously, the next month in and around the NHL going to be super exciting. Seth, Zach, Tom, Jess, thank you so much for doing this. And thanks to Jay Foster, our producer, for all of his fine work. You've been watching the Locked On NHL Squad Show. We're here every week talking about the biggest stories from around the NHL. I'm Gil Martin. Thanks for listening and watching, and have a great week, everybody.